Hey y'all, welcome to Something's in the Closet podcast. I'm Wyatt, one of your hosts, joined by my co-host Aleja, and today is her story, so I'm gonna let her take over from here.
There's a lot of supernatural entities that somehow always relate to children. There's rumors that children can see the supernatural while adults can't, or that demons often take on the form of a child, either to trick humans or preserve their power. There's just something spooky about children that the paranormal seems to thrive on. And black-eyed kids are almost like the embodiment of this fear. Black-eyed children are supposedly paranormal entities that appear just as their name states. They are children with pale skin and completely black eyes. These children are said to hang around forested areas or countryside roads. People who have had interactions with these children say that these kids will approach them in different ways, either come to their front door or approach a parked car. These children usually have their eyes completely covered as they ask for help or to be let inside. They sometimes can get aggressive, and even scarier is that no one knows really what happens if you let one inside. The majority of believers say they are a bad omen, and once you encounter one or let them in, bad things will happen to you like you're cursed. There's no real explanation for what these beings are or where they come from. So, why? Do you know anything about black-eyed children?
You know, I only know them because this YouTube creator from like 2012, her name was Haunting of Sunshine Girl. She created a bunch of like staged like short horror films. Like she had like a series, and Black Eyed Kids came up a lot. So I know them in her worlds and Hulu's Into the Dark Blumhouse film stuff. They did one called They Knock They Knock at Night or something, or They Come at Night. And it was about Black Eyed Kids on Father's Day. So I know a little bit about it, but only from media, not like the actual legend.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to go into documentation of the legend and kind of where it all came from.
Okay.
There actually isn't very much documentation of black-eyed children in terms of like photos or videos. The only photos where people believe there could be black-eyed children are photos captured on trail cams, which I'm going to show you these photos right now.
Okay.
So.
And for those of you listening, if you want to see these pictures, we're going to post them on our Instagram. That's Something in the Closet.
Here we go.
And this is dash cam footage?
Trail cam footage. So it's like, it is trail cams that are put out for hunters and stuff to like capture stuff. So this is a really bad, oh my god, I didn't even download properly. This is like the most popular one where people are like, this is definitely a black-eyed child. So you can see.
I can't see its eyes though.
Yeah, but why is this child in the middle of the woods?
I don't know, maybe that's her backyard.
No,
what?
Hunters don't put these in the middle of the woods. They put them like far, like, oh no, okay, they don't put them in their backyards. They put them in the like middle of the woods. Like there should be nothing out here except for animals.
Who posted this photo? Do we know?
It's kind of like a lost photo. It just ended up on the internet and people are like, black-eyed child.
Some guy was like, look at these cute deer with my kid, and then they're like, oh my god, black-eyed child. It went viral on fucking Reddit.
Why would he have his child? Like, look, she's not even like, oh fuck, she's not even like dressed to be out in the woods. Look at her. She's wearing a dress. I think she's carrying like a blanket or something.
She might be homeless.
Also bare in the woods.
Yeah, you don't know.
She'd be like killed immediately.
Okay, black-eyed kid. For the sake of the podcast, black-eyed child.
It's a black-eyed kid.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also like a whole bunch of others. Like you could go down a rabbit hole of like these trail cams that just capture random fucking kids in the woods.
Okay.
I didn't find them all because I don't have time for that.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's just like, those are really the only kind of documentation that people have. And there's also like some people who will just be like streaming and then they're like, there's a child behind me and I don't know where it came from.
What, like in their house?
No, like there was this girl, like she was at a pool and she was talking about how like her and her friend are so cute and like you should come join the pool.
Oh, okay.
And in the back there's like this weird figure and it looks like a child like in the corner.
So like okay.
So people say that's a black-eyed kid. But here's the thing with
Did it have black eyes?
That is my entire argument with this like documentation thing actually, is that nobody actually captures that they have black eyes.
Then why the fuck are they called black-eyed children?
It's just because of what people say when they actually encounter them.
Okay.
Yeah, and then people are like, I think this was a black-eyed child. So people think that the trail cams, that's a black-eyed child. Because it's like, why is there a kid in the middle of the fucking woods? And to add on to that, black-eyed kids are usually seen in the woods.
You know, I one up you, feral people.
They do exist. They exist in the national parks. Now, we're going to go into history a little bit. So the first person to really start talking about black-eyed kids was a reporter named Brian Bethel. In the mid-90s, he wrote about his encounter. So in a parking lot of a movie theater in Abilene, Texas, some kids around 10 to 14 approached him. They asked him if he could give them a ride so they could get money that they had forgotten. He claimed that one of the kids insisted that he show them his camera because they saw it like in the back of his car. He refused and said the kids began to show signs of aggression. Since this first documentation, more and more sightings have been recorded and stories told. And they all have the same characteristics. They usually are wearing weird clothes, like the clothes are not from this time whatsoever, and they kind of are like mixed matched. Like some people say like it looked like the kid was wearing a shirt from like the 80s,
Okay.
but he was wearing like bottoms from like the 50s.
That sounds like Gen Z. I'm just gonna say.
You got a point. Yeah, so like it doesn't really add up, and people are just like, "What the fuck are you wearing?" Like
Okay.
they look really weird. But you're right, it was just our generation.
Yeah.
They're between ages 8 to 14. They repeat sentences constantly. The more they repeat themselves, the more aggressive they become. And some people have said that they have an overwhelming sense of fear in their presence. So it's like as soon as they come up to them, they're just instantly like scared for no reason. It's a fucking child, and they're just like, oh shit.
Okay.
I mean, I'd feel that way too.
That reminds me of that meme. It's like, what's worse than a rapist? And then they rip it apart, and it's like, a child.
There is only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child. No.
It's my favorite fucking movie. And then of course, they're completely blacked out eyes. That is like the most defining trait of them. So, have you known about any of this, the history of black-eyed kids?
The history of them? Absolutely not. But I did remember that some people theorize that they're aliens.
Yes, we're gonna get into the explanations at the end.
Okay.
I have like all of them written down.
Okay,
One
cool.
of them's really fucking weird, but I can't believe it. Anyway, so now I'm going to read to you two encounters. So the first encounter I picked out, these are both from Reddit. The first one I picked out because, so I said that the first incident was reported by that reporter in the like mid 1990s. So this person on Reddit actually claims that their grandfather had an encounter with a black-eyed child.
Okay.
This Reddit post titled BEK Incident in 1918 from my grandfather. I just recently found out about BEK phenomena and was reminded of this story told to me by my grandfather of an incident that took place sometime in late 1918 and early 1919 near Sandoval, Illinois. He told me it had been hot the past summer and the heat lingered for months, so he had all these windows and both doors open on his house where he was sitting on the porch reading a book because it was too stuffy to be inside. He went in to make a snack, get a drink, and when he heard a knock. This struck him as odd because most people would just call out that they knew him, so he figured it was a vagrant looking for a meal or labor. He lived by the train tracks, so hobos would come from time to time, and I guess it was normal. So he goes to the hall, and two kids are standing in the entranceway and call out, "May we come in to rest? It's a long way home." So he says they were welcome to sit on the porch, but it's too hot inside to be comfortable. He asked if they came from the rails, and they just said, "We need to come in. May we?" From what he said, the kids made him feel peculiar because 1, they wouldn't look at him directly, and 2, they were too clean. My grandfather said that riding the trains was dirty. You got grease on you and coal dust, and sometimes you get cuts on your hands and knees. He lost his leg doing the very thing which kept him out of the war. But these kids, from what he said, were pristine, like they were going to Sunday school. They weren't sweating, and their hair was neat, and it struck him as odd if they had walked in open fields in the middle of the heat, they would be unkempt or disheveled. He asked again if they would like to sit on the porch, and the girl, it was a boy and a girl, but the boy didn't speak. The girl just repeated, "May we come in?" And then she just kept saying, "May we, may we, may we." over and over again until my grandfather slammed his hand down and says, "Damn you both, no." The girl stopped speaking, and he said they both just stood quiet until the girl looked at him, eyes black like coal, that was a direct quote from their grandfather, and said once more, "Mister, may we please come in?" My grandfather just walked to the kitchen and sat down not knowing what to do. He said he felt like someone punched him in the stomach. He said he sat there until his dog came rushing in the house, shaking like a leaf. Also another quote. So at the end, he never told anyone, chalking up to heat exhaustion. But he said it troubled him for years. My question is, how far back do stories of BEK go from? And what I read, they can sometimes hypnotize people. What could they do with a dog to keep it from barking a warning? So, what do you think of that story? Because I told you the first documentation of black-eyed kids.
What year was that again? I didn't catch
1918. This is from
1918.
Yeah, this is this kid's grandfather. Or not a kid, it's probably an adult, because like
probably an old man.
Yeah, an old man. This guy's probably a grandpa now.
I don't see how those kids would be alive if they weren't something supernatural, just based on the conditions you explained.
Yeah.
I want to know why they want to come inside so badly, but I know anyone who's let them in, no one's said they have, because they're probably dead.
Yeah, that's why nobody really knows like what happens. Like the rumor is that bad stuff's gonna happen to you, like misfortune. But no one really knows what happens if you do let them. I mean, as is, there's also accounts of people who say like they don't let them in, but just because they've talked to them and encountered them, bad shit has happened to them afterwards.
I don't know. I think that's weird that it's happened over 100 years ago.
Yeah, and then the first documentation was in the 1990s when this reporter was like, "You know what? I think I should talk about this."
There's this weird thing going on, guys. Like,
I think you guys should know about it.
You should be afraid of children, especially when they're dressed like Generation Z and they don't know.
This guy was. Can you imagine what that reporter's thinking now? He's probably having PTSD seeing all these kids dressed like the creepy ass kids he saw in the 90s. But yeah, okay. So that whole story, like that story stuck out to me the most when I was looking through this Reddit thread. All of them are like relatively the same, but this one stuck out to me just because it's from 1918. And like I said, the like most, besides this one, like the most recent recording, like where it was like, oh, this was like the first documentation was in the 90s. And that's when like the myth or whatever really started to like gain traction because people were like, what the fuck is that? Okay. So now I'll go into our next story. So our next story is a little bit more recent. It happened right before the pandemic.
Okay.
I believe.
So 2019? No, 2020.
No, 2020. Like right before it happened, because this person said like 2 weeks later the pandemic started.
Okay.
So yeah, 2020.
I don't know if you can use the P word on
live. When the Backstreet Boys reunion tour started.
That sounds horrifying.
Do you know that meme?
No.
It's a meme from fucking nerds on YouTube. I'm not going to go into it. So this woman actually posted a picture of what she saw. Now this kind of looks like one of the... So I said that they range from like 8 to 14. This looks like a black-eyed child who was probably around the age of 14.
Okay.
I'll show you it after. I was on a rowing boat in July, sunshine, with my niece and son. My lad clocked her on the other side of the lake straight away and said, "Mom, I don't like her." I told him not to be silly. He was 15, by the way. 20 minutes later, I got freaked because she hasn't moved a muscle, so I rode over to her. I was horrified. Her mouth was wide open and black as her eyes. We sat in the boat for 10 minutes completely mesmerized. She didn't move a single inch and had an old white dress on with no shoes. The kids started to get upset and scared. My lad hung his head over the boat, saying she made him feel sick. I tried to calm them both by saying it's a statue and someone's idea of a prank. I started to row away, not taking our eyes off of her. As I rowed around a small island in the lake, she lifted her arm and made some strange wave. I was angry. The kids were screaming. I rowed around the island to get back to her ASAP, threw my phone at my son to take pictures. She had by then resumed... I forgot about that. She had by then resumed her creepy pose. As I got closer, she dropped to the ground and started scratching at it, stood back up, and walked a meter or so along the embankment, and then she was gone. I have 15 pictures of what I just described. I sent them to Heaton Park, Manchester, but they had no explanation. Isn't it said if you see someone with black eyes, it's a sign of doom? 2 really bad things happened to me in the months following, and then 6 months later, a worldwide pandemic. I hope I never see her again. Okay, so I was wrong. It was 6 months later, not 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. What's the picture?
So this is the picture. There's actually a few. So
Oh,
that
okay.
they were in the middle of the lake, and
The
that's where
first
they
one
saw
was
her.
just like a basic cryptid one.
Yeah,
just like,
and then you gotta zoom in.
wow.
Yeah, so you can't really see if
She could also just be a woman in white.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But then they wrote up on her and they were like, yeah, she had black eyes.
That's bullshit. They can't see I can't even see her face.
She got closer. She didn't throw her phone at her kid until they got away.
Oh, okay.
That's when the kid took pictures, when they were
Oh,
away.
all right.
I mean,
That looks like a woman in white to me, but whatever.
it could have been, but this was posted to the Reddit, and I was just kind of like, well, there's pictures, which was why it was so interesting. Yeah. So what do you think of that one?
I think they're safer. Like, it's less scary because you're on the boat.
Yeah.
And, like, was she gonna do levitate across the water? I mean, if that happened, then okay.
Oh my god. Okay, I have one more. This one is a little more dramatic, and it's kind of like believe it more.
Okay.
Because the way this person like typed it out, it sounds like they were really freaking the fuck out. Like, this is how I would probably text you if something like this happened to me.
Okay.
Okay, so the title of it is literally just I fucking knew it. I knew it, I fucking knew it. I posted my encounter from when I was 13 thinking it was okay, and see me now, it happened again. My roommate saw it too. It's been 4 or 5 years since my last encounter, and like not even one since I posted about it. I think I'm safe, right? Wrong. I moved last year and I recently thought, hey, remember those kids a few years ago? Funny, they can't get you now. Boy, was I motherfucking wrong.
Okay.
I live on a mountain and like an hour away from the beach in a super populated neighborhood with my roommates. 2 chill lesbians and a college dude. Super cool people. I think nothing can hurt me now because there are people everywhere. But no, I'm stupid and I jinxed myself. I was home 2 days ago, class was canceled, and the dude of the house was home too, taking a nap. I'm in the kitchen watching Netflix and doing homework when there's a knock on the window. Obviously this is weird as hell, but I have weird as hell friends. Maybe one of them are trying to scare me. I brush it off and continue what I was doing, then it happens again. Once again, I brush it off because maybe it was the snow. Things like this.
I'm sorry, she thinks the snow is knocking on the window?
Well, yeah, have you ever had like a lump of snow fall on your window?
No, I have a balcony right above my window.
Okay, well, like, I am not fortunate to have a balcony in my apartment. And sometimes it'll happen at like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna die. You just have to accept that.
I just have my haunted doll make noises. Oh, you know what? Keep talking. I'm gonna have Sarah join us.
I don't like that she has a direct field of vision of me. It's actually really terrifying.
She watches everyone. She stares into the mirror at night, and I can see her from when I'm sleeping. It's really fun. Hi guys, this is Sarah. She's my haunted doll. What were you saying?
Anyway, back to my story with
here's
Sarah.
Sarah for the video pod. Hey guys.
She looks fucking terrified. You're just gonna hold her like that?
She comforts me.
Okay, Sarah, I mean no disrespect. You're beautiful. I need to say that before she fucks me up. Okay, anyway, stop it! Okay, oh, where was I? Fuck. Okay. Things like this happen all the time with them. Well, it goes on for like 10 minutes, and now I'm kind of starting to freak out. My friends don't have this much patience. I go to Charlie's room, the guy, and wake him up. I'm not one that's usually riled up, so he's concerned too. We both go to the window, I have my phone out with the camera and 911 within a touch, and Charlie has a bat. We look out the window and no one's there. After a minute, we calm down and go and sit in the living room. Charlie's mom is a cop, so he tells her about it later. We think we're okay, so we chill and watch TV together. 30 goddamn minutes later, the doorbell rings. I go and open the door. At first, I don't see anything. Then down at the bottom of the stairs of the apartment, I see 3 young boys dressed in black hoodies, jeans, and brown or black bangs. At first, I didn't move. I was frozen in place. Then Charlie asked who it was, and I came to my senses and got a good look at the kids and then slammed the door shut behind me. I started bawling, and I mean sobbing. I don't know what to do. Charlie is freaking out because I don't cry, especially in front of people like that. He ran to the door with the bat we have on the windowsill and looked outside. He saw them too. He started freaking out because he didn't know what to do, so he started yelling at them to leave. He said they started smiling. I was crying even more now. He was screaming, and I think the neighbors wanted to call the cops. Now, think about this. He didn't know what they were. He thought they were normal kids that had scared me. He didn't see their eyes yet. I started yelling at him to get inside when I hear a bunch of footsteps running up the stairs, and Charlie screams and runs inside. He's telling me he saw their eyes and that they were black, and now we're both freaking out and grabbing kitchen knives. Eventually, we calm down and look outside again. No one's there, but we can see a group of kids past the complex with 3 that we think are the BEKs. I told them the other thing that happened to me, and now we're scared to be in this house. We told the other roommates, and they thought we were high or something, so once again, no one believes me. Sorry this is all over the place. This happened like 3 days ago, and I've been on edge ever since.
Why did they start freaking out when she noticed
So, she has had an encounter before.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of like alluded in the beginning. I couldn't find their first post. I tried to look for it and I couldn't find it. But she had seen them before. So she saw these kids again and she was like, fuck that. And she started crying because obviously like her first encounter must have been rough.
Okay.
And her roommate, the guy, Charlie, he was just like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you crying? These are just children. Again, a child.
Gaslighting her.
Yeah. But when he saw it, apparently, I guess they started to run up the stairs at him. That's what he said. They started to run up the stairs.
That part.
Did you? They started to run up the stairs, and that's when he freaked out because that's when he finally saw their eyes. And he realized these aren't fucking kids.
Fucking drop kick a child. Okay.
I have never hit a child.
If they have black eyes and they're coming at you.
100%. I open my apartment door and I see a black-eyed kid. That kid's getting fucking pummeled.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a haunted doll because I needed it for TikTok content, and she's not very active when I have the cameras on because she's shy. She told me she doesn't like the cameras. Just so you know, because you asked on Twitch, there's a question for those of you watching. Yeah. So, but now she just kind of sits there and makes noises when I sleep. She likes to knock on my headboard. It scares me a little bit, and then I'm just like, then I fall back to sleep. That's about it. Did you guys hear that? I wonder if the mic picked that up.
No, that wasn't her. I'm gonna start crying. Are you serious?
Did you guys hear that on the... Oh, they're gone. They left. They yeeted.
They said, fuck that. I'm gonna start crying.
Did you hear about on Twitch? Oh, you did? Thanks, Sarah. Okay, next part.
I need another fucking shot. Oh my god.
Anyway, continue. Next part.
I've told you 3 stories today.
Uh-huh.
All of which have to supposedly do with black-eyed children, and these all came from Reddit, and they will all be properly credited in the description. So, now we're going to move on to explanations of what these things might be. So the first one, and I'm getting it out of the way because I think it's bullshit. People think it's just a prank.
Who's prank? Like kids are dressing up like black-eyed kids and
so
scaring people?
So people think it's like a club.
A club? Yeah, guys, let's dress up like fucking cryptids and scare the shit out of people. Ooh.
Would you not? Did you hear about the guy who like pretended to be like a giant penguin on like this one beach, and he like had like these penguin shoes, and he would like he convinced his town that there was a giant penguin on their beach. Maybe it's that kind of.
How realistic was the fucking suit?
No, it wasn't a suit. He would just.
Oh, just the feet.
It was just the feet. So people would find these like penguin footprints, and they were just like, "What the fuck? We don't have penguins here." But there's a giant penguin apparently.
That's what they. Okay.
They believed it for like 30 years or something.
So people think this is a club of people who get the rocks off dressing as. Wait, they're kids though.
Yeah, like they pay kids to do this, or like they have kids in this club who do it.
Okay.
And they give them like contact lenses and shit, make them dress like Gen Z.
Let's dress up like monsters and risk getting shot. Sounds like a fun time. Yeah, right? What the fuck?
I want to know like if anybody's pulled a gun on these kids. Oh my god. Okay, so that's the first one. Obviously, I know you're gonna think it's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. Why would there be a club like that?
Yeah, there's not a fucking club.
Plus, people see this all around the world. Like, I read one about a military guy who was in some part of Asia. I don't know where, but he was in a part of Asia and he saw one. And then there was a couple stories from Mexico. There was one from India. Like, people see them all over the world. So unless this is a worldwide club, that we just don't know about.
It's just the world's elite just messing with the average person. They have so much money to throw away that they're like, hey kid, you want to make $20?
I want you to go scare this casual civilian. Okay, so the second one. This one does get a little deep. So people believe that they're the ghosts of dead children, but then there's also a more specific belief that they're actually the ghost of. Is it not recording?
It's okay, we can pull the audio from Twitch.
Is it gonna sound okay?
It should sound the same. Sorry guys, we just realized that our podcast host stopped recording 30 minutes into this episode, but I'm pretty sure because we're recording on Twitch, we can pull the audio out if I can download it.
Yeah, you can. Okay, anyway. Okay, so.
We lost all of the viewers. They're like, fuck you and your technical problems.
Sorry. So the second one, they're the ghosts of dead children, but more specifically, they're the ghosts of children who were abused in life and now enslaved to their abusers. That's why they wear old clothes.
Like enslaved in the afterlife?
Yeah. So whoever abused them in their life, they died, but now they're still tied to them because of all the abuse that they endured during their life. And that's why they're like asking to be let in and stuff, like asking for help. But nobody knows. Like that's kind of like the downfall of this theory, is that it's like, why do people have misfortune after they see them?
Well, why would people be afraid of them?
Yeah.
Because looking at them causes fear.
Yeah. But also, like, if you saw a kid with black eyes. If I saw a child to begin with. Did I tell you how freaked out I get about children on campus? If I'm fucking walking.
There's children on campus?
Sometimes, like, I'll be walking to the comm building and then I'll just see this fucking child, like, run up and I'm like, the fuck is that thing? So that's, like, the idea that they're potentially, the, like, lost souls of children. Basically. Okay. So the next one, aliens. They're just some form of alien from another planet, universe, whatever. Because some people say that they've actually spoken to them, like the black-eyed child has spoken to them, like telepathically. Like they're staring at them and they realize, I'm hearing this kid's voice, but his mouth isn't talking. Isn't moving.
Okay.
So people think that's like an alien thing.
I thought the alien thing because of the big black eyes.
Yeah, so there's that. They think they might be like aliens in disguise trying to look like kids because they're already kind of small.
And they don't know how.
Yeah, and that's why they're
like, this is fashion.
This is fashion.
They just saw like fucking Addison Rae's TikTok and they're like, yeah, that's how they dress.
They looked into the future and they were like, yeah, this is good enough. They won't know the difference. The next one is vampires, and this is
what?
Yeah, okay. So people think it's vampires because when they look at them, they don't feel like they have a soul. Like, you know what? I know, like,
someone has not watched Buffy because Angel has a soul. Okay.
I haven't watched Buffy, so I don't
know
what
my god!
I'm sorry.
You're making me feel old.
I know what it is. I just never watched it.
I just got my roommate to start watching it, and now she's fucking obsessed, and she watches it without me.
That's cruel. I'm so sorry.
At least we got a fan. Anyway, I think that's bullshit because vampires can have souls if they're cursed by a gypsy. Anyway, that's a slur.
All the
traveling people. I'm sorry.
I love the retraction. That's a slur. Well, okay, the main reason is because they asked to come inside, like typical vampire lore.
Okay.
That's why. And because there's soul outside of the Buffy fucking universe, they're soulless.
Okay, but also, why would there not be like black-eyed adult sightings then? They're all kids, unless in reality you can only be made a vampire before you hit puberty or something.
Maybe. We don't really know actual vampire lore. We just fucking made it up.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I don't know. So that's one. The last one, which is like, I would believe it if there was a little more evidence. So people believe that they're a result of a government experiment on mental control. And they
You mean mind control?
They said mental control. I don't know if there's a difference, but they said mental control in the article I read.
Well, I know that they're actually developing that stuff, but I don't know. Like MK Ultra, that's all been released to the public, and that's the entire experiment. What, someone took too much LSD and became a fucking black-eyed kid?
Well, not LSD specifically. The government's doing all kinds of shit behind our back. We know they are. Well, this podcast isn't going to go anywhere now.
You know what? We had trouble with the first one we recorded.
Okay, so those are all the explanations. Which one do you agree with the most?
I don't think the government is advanced enough to create this species, and if they did, they would probably just kill them as if they couldn't control them. I would say I don't even think it's ghosts. I think honestly, it's probably some sort of demonic entity.
Really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they instill fear. Ghosts can make you feel peaceful depending on what kind it is.
I don't know.
Like
I
Sarah, I'm holding
started
her.
crying.
She makes me feel calm and safe. My haunted doll. She doesn't scare me though. You know what though? At night I am scared because there's definitely something that lives over there and I can see it. And it's fine. That's
What
why I
is
got
it?
this screen.
What is it though?
I don't know.
What does it look like?
It's just a thing. Like a shadow person.
I gotta go home.
listen
so
to the last episode, guys. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube and Twitch.
It's on everything. Okay.
So I think it's a demonic entity.
Okay. I actually think it's aliens.
You think it's aliens?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, I don't know. I feel like it's just, they are beings that we don't understand. Aliens are beings we don't understand. I fully
Ghosts are
believe it.
beings we don't understand.
That too, but demonic.
Cryptids.
Okay, the reason why demons always put me off when it comes to this kind of thing is because demons allude to religion. And I don't really believe.
Well, I think that's just the name we've given them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. When I think of demons, and it's probably because I was raised Catholic, I think of like the religious aspect of it and all the religious stories that come with it.
And I was raised without religion, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
ooky spooky.
That's why we have different perceptions of demons. So I don't necessarily think like it's a demonic entity because then I start associating religion with it. But for me, it's easier to say and believe. They might just be aliens here fucking with us.
Like, maybe they're actually alien kids that are just fucking bored. I'm like, Mom, can we go terrorize the inferior species?
That's probably what it is,
Yeah.
actually. I believe that a lot more.
And that's why you're scared of them, because they're children.
So
If aliens came into this planet, they'd be like, nope, we're out of the species. Crazy. Like, oh, everyone's fucking killing each other. We're out.
That's probably why aliens haven't revealed themselves. They showed up and they were like,
if they're killing each other, they're gonna kill us.
they're like, they kill each other just because they look a little different.
Oh
we
my
look
God.
really different.
Racism is not funny, guys.
No, it's not.
Alright, guys, we're getting a bonus Black Eyed Kids encounter because this episode has to be at least an hour long.
See, if you told me your time limit before I planned.
You know what? You're right.
Trigger warning, I forgot about that, but this story does talk about sexual assault and rape because it has to do with kids being treated horribly.
Okay.
And that's how they become black-eyed kids. About 3 days ago, I started hearing stories of the black-eyed kids for the first time in years. I'd heard the stories as a teenager, and everyone had seen the creepy Photoshop images of freaky kids somewhere on the net, but I never paid any mind to them. I thought it was just an urban legend. I'm a bit of an occultist, this is important later, and I went through a phase as a teenager where I studied almost everything paranormal. But these days, I'm mostly a skeptic where spectacular creature phenomena are concerned. Or I was until about 3 days ago. Around that time, I was on a drive and I heard a really old podcast about black-eyed kids. The original interpret post from Abilene, and I almost wrecked my truck. The story was so similar to an experience that I had with my boyfriend back in January, but let me tell you about that first, because it's weird in itself. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on a date with my boyfriend. It was actually our first date, despite having met online over a year ago, and being an official couple for 4 months at that point. We decided to drive down to Baton Rouge for the weekend after the college football national championship, so partying was in full swing from the LSU victory to party and hang out in general. Our first night there, we decided to see a movie. I think it might have been the 1917 movie. When did that movie come out?
The 1917 movie?
It has Harry Styles in it.
I'd never heard of this.
Really? It's like about World War One. I think it has Harry Styles. I'm pretty sure
I
it has
don't
Harry
follow
Styles.
Harry Styles media. I just know that I'm sexually attracted to him, and that's about
Me too.
it.
Yeah, so whenever 1917 came out, that can date this story.
Okay.
Um, we got to the theater about an hour early so we could make sure we got good seats. We got our tickets, and having time to kill, we decided to walk across the street to the Mall of Louisiana and take a quick look around, and window shop for our planned outing the next day. It was kind of late, around 7:30 or so, so most of the shops were closed, but we decided to go to the mall anyways. Like I said, to window shop and also to walk around and stretch our legs. We had just crossed the street at the crosswalk right there between the theater and the bowling alley, and it happened. I never saw them walk up, which is odd, because I have a really hyper-focused sense of observation. I grew up in a bad environment, and you learn early to take note of everyone and everything, no matter if you think someone is a threat or not. It's just in case. Do you love that?
We love trauma responses.
I have that, but I think it was just how I am.
Do I have that? Is
Do
that what
you?
you asked?
Yeah.
I'm just aware of the ookie spookies that like to play peekaboo with me through doorways.
Tell me that when I'm not looking over there. I can see. Wyatt. Oh my god! If I look over and I see something,
It's there, and I don't know how Monica can sleep with the foot of her bed. She doesn't believe in ghosts, but also she's a little scared of my haunted doll.
me and my boyfriend, who is younger than me and also a slim individual, had just made it to the other side of the street when two boys approached us, seemingly out of nowhere. One looked to be about 16 and the other was about 12 or 13. Both of them were Caucasian in appearance, the older one having either brown or sandy blonde hair, the younger one with brown hair. It was just light enough outside to still be able to see that much. My first impression was that their clothes were weird. They looked like the kind of Abercrombie or Hollister clothes a typical suburban kid would wear, but from the mid-90s, kind of faded almost. The older boy started talking, and it immediately creeped me out.
This just seems like it's classist. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this kid has to shop at fucking Goodwill. Don't be a dick.
The older boy started talking, and it immediately creeped me out. Do you have a car? He just walked up to me and asked that. But I'm a nice guy, and other than the weird feeling that something was off, and despite it being such an odd question, I decided to answer. Bear in mind that at this point, my boyfriend is beside me and slightly behind to my left because he was following me and we had been talking. But we had both stopped talking because of how weird we both felt the situation was. This is really hard for me to type. I'm honestly creeped out and scared at the present moment, but I want to put my whole story out there. I looked at my boyfriend and he had his head down and had moved behind me. I'm a bigger guy because I used to work out heavily before my job took over, and I could tell he was getting behind me because he was scared. My boyfriend doesn't scare easily. He's never backed down from a fight, and his headstrong nature has gotten him into trouble before. But now he was hiding behind me, and when he saw me looking at him, he raised his head and shook his head no, before putting his head back down. He also wasn't on his phone, which was weird because he had just been in the middle of a lively Snapchat conversation moments earlier, that being his preferred social media app. I looked back at the boys, and neither of them had moved. I don't know why I said it because my first instinct was to lie and get my boyfriend away from there, but I told them, well, not really. I mean, I have a rental. I'm parked over there. Can you give us a ride? Despite the complete sense of uneasiness I had and the extremely strong sense that they did not need to be anywhere near my car, I was curious. Despite the complete sense of uneasiness I had and the extremely strong sense that they did not need to be anywhere near my car, I was curious. I've been a youth pastor and youth addiction counselor in the past, so when I see a kid in need, my first instinct is always to try and figure out what's going on and how to help. Where do you need to go? We came to the mall, but we need to get back to our house. It's not far from here. Our parents will be mad if we don't get back. Well, why don't you call them? Maybe they can give you a ride. I was head set against giving them a ride despite their average appearance. I kept getting images of maniacal smiles and throats being slit from behind in the back of my mind. We don't have phones. I have a habit of scanning my surroundings, and I looked up just then to see if other people walking around to get them past us on the sidewalk, or looking at this strange conversation of young men in the middle of a busy thoroughway. But just as I looked up, I heard the younger one say, "They're not paying attention." Heard him say. I never saw him speak. Despite having Stan not 3 feet away from me and his face being very much in my field of vision, I also thought he was speaking to his brother. His brother looked at him, and I heard, "They can help us." The younger one looked back at him. "They can see us." I thought this was odd, but I was more concerned with finding a polite end to this conversation and seeing these boys on their way safely. "I really would help you, but there's all kinds of stuff in my back seat, and we have to see a movie soon. It won't take long, it's not far." The older one had spoken and turned to face me again. I barely managed to notice that the rest of the small crowd at the mall looked kind of washed out, almost not there really, when I saw his eyes for the first time. They were the palest shade of green. Yes, odd for the BEK story, but bear with me. His eyes, though I could see them, were almost kind of ethereal, almost not really there, almost transparent like ghost eyes. They had bits of yellow in them, maybe they turned blue, I'm not sure. They were hypnotizing though. I noticed fear in his eyes, not "I'm about to die" fear, but "I need serious help" fear. The fear a kidnapped victim might feel, or a lost kid. He looked at the younger boy again. "Yeah, he can see us. Ask him for help. He can help us." I was sketched out by now and I just wanted to leave. "I can't give you a ride, but you said it's not far. Can you walk? Or can I let you use my phone to call your parents?" "They're not at home. They're still at work. It's too far to walk, it's a couple of miles." I was desperate to get away by now. The sense of urgency to help was too strong, and I didn't like it because every time I thought about helping, I got a stronger sense that I was going to be murdered. I just knew that if I survived the trip there, I would be invited in and I wouldn't be able to refuse, and their parents would be inside and it would be bad. My boyfriend wasn't even a thought then, except that he was so close behind me that I could feel his presence. We had to go. "I can maybe give you a couple of bucks for a bus fare." The bus stop was right there. "We just moved here. We don't know about the bus stops. We just need a ride." "Where are you from?" "Far away." "Look, I wish I could help, but we've got to go." And with that, I started to walk away and made sure my boyfriend was with me. We left that spot in a hurry. I turned around about 5 seconds later to look at those two weirdos, and they were gone. My boyfriend was pissed. "I can't believe you did that." "Did what?" "Talk to them. They needed help. They were fucked up." "What, you mean high? Their pupils weren't dilated." "No, they didn't have pupils. They were fucked up. I didn't see anything." "I can't believe you didn't see anything. I'm telling you, they were fucked up. That's why I didn't say anything. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw." I believed him, kind of. I thought he meant drugs. I joked with him about it for a few moments, honestly not seeing anything amiss except for their weird attitude and the insistence of getting in my car. But he got even more upset. "Just stop talking about it. I'm done. I'm not crazy." And so I dropped it. Until 3 days ago, when I heard a story about BEKs on an old podcast show I'd recently discovered. I called up my boyfriend to ask him, "Those guys at the mall back in January, did they have black eyes?" "Yeah," was all he would say. He was still too scared to talk about it. But looking back, I remember that weekend. It was bad. Me and my boyfriend argued about trivial stuff. We almost broke up. He developed a nosebleed that night. After he went to bed, I almost went crazy. I drove across town full of unexplainable angst and stopped at one of the riverboat casinos, the Belle of Baton Rouge, out on the promenade. I had this strong urge to throw myself in the Mississippi and drown. It was raining and the water looked rough. I knew I wouldn't survive, but somehow I held back against this unexplainable urge. In the weeks that followed, he had a near nervous collapse. I was having issues at work that almost cost me my job. We almost broke up again. I had a psychic help me do a cleansing, and things which had slowly been spiraling into an abyss, essentially with the virus-related layoffs, started improving. Okay, so then they're talking about...
Oh,
Yeah.
that.
So then it was recent.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I didn't know these things could make you want to commit unaliving.
I mean, if you feel that bad. Now, I mentioned that I was into the occult. Well, yesterday I was talking to a witch friend of mine who has a lot of lore knowledge and experience dealing with the paranormal. A lot more than me, at least. I told her my story and she wasn't the least bit surprised. "Yeah," she told me, "they're the spirits of kids who were horribly abused in life." I thought about it and considered the Scandinavian Mylings, children with black eyes, come back for revenge on the living, killed at a young age and denied a proper burial. Then I thought about another BEK story, where the parents of the kids actually did arrive after a lady invited them in, which brings me to the second story. I was staying with some friends of mine once, and this was actually about the same time that I first met my boyfriend online. There were a couple, and we were all close. I'll just leave it at that. They had a son, whom I'll call Robbie. It's not his real name. Anyways, Robbie was the coolest kid ever. He was 7, got good grades at school, and was fiercely independent. Knew how to cook a little bit, did chores, liked to chop firewood, and was known to steal alcohol on occasion. How old is this fucking kid? Okay, I forgot about that. Then he had a side of his personality where all he wanted to do was snuggle up to either me or his mom on the couch and watch a cartoon and fall asleep on the days where it was raining and he didn't have school.
Young enough to want to watch a cartoon and cuddle, but old enough to want to steal liquor?
I drink and sometimes I just want to watch a cartoon and cuddle.
So maybe this child's just mentally ill.
That's what it is. 100%.
Got it.
Oh my god.
Anyway, continue with the story.
My mental health cannot take this. Anyways, he was a sweet but tough kid. One time he started having nightmares and sleepwalking, which is typical 7-year-old kid. So he's 7.
He's 7 and stealing alcohol? Is he drinking it, or is it just for the rush?
It might just be for the rush. Some kids are like that.
So. Good God, I can't imagine this little kid's like,
Okay,
I need a whiskey.
what kind of kid were you? Were you like the kid who, like, when someone
I
told
was
you
the
no,
kid that
you
when I
wanted to
walked
do
in
it?
the room, they said, go to your bedroom. Kids are not to be seen or heard. You're to be heard when spoken to, and that is it.
Fuck.
And you know what? I turned out great.
You're doing amazing. No, because, like, I was the kind of kid where if somebody told me no, I distinctly remember this time where my grandpa, like, pulled out one of those, like, pill cutters, and it had, like, the blade.
Why did he have...
He was cutting his pills. Why else?
Oh.
He was old. He had pills. And he opened it, and he was, like, getting his medicine ready, and he was like, don't touch that, mija. And I was like, okay. No, I deadass went and fucking, like, tapped the blade, and my finger started bleeding, and I was like, that's why he said not to touch it. But I did it purely because he told me not to.
Oh my God.
So that's probably how this kid was. Like, his parents were like, don't touch alcohol, and he was just like, I'm gonna just steal it just because I can.
Hoards Coronas under his bed.
When he turns 16, he invites his friends over.
Oh
and he's
God.
like, guys, you'll never believe this.
I have a 10-year supply.
He's like, I've been collecting this for a while. They're like, how long? Since I was
It's gonna
7.
be stale and
Ew. This poor fucking kid.
Just hit my tooth.
I'm the one who drank. Are you good? Okay. One time he started having nightmares and sleepwalking, which is typical 7-year-old kid stuff. No big deal. I don't remember the nightmares because they were eclipsed by something else. The spirit.
Oh.
We would all go to another friend's house for the day and come back, and the front door would be open. At first we thought the 2 puppies did it. They were 6-month-old black labs and could be rambunctious. Good.
You have to say it 3 times. Otherwise it doesn't have the same effect.
I just stuttered. That was the only reason. I couldn't get the word out.
You said it 3 times. Rambunctious.
No,
rambunctious.
I thought I said the first part. You know what? Fuck it. It doesn't matter. So let me read that last one again. They were 6-month-old black labs and could be rambunctious. So we put the dogs outside when we left, and the door would be open when we got back. We called the police eventually after about a week of it, and they set up patrol for the area. The door started staying shut, but the inside doors will all be reversed. Doors that were closed would be opened and vice versa. We were getting freaked out. A couple of times Mom would swear she heard someone on the porch outside her bedroom window. Once I thought I saw a small figure run past the living room window, but didn't hear footprints, and there weren't any prints in the sand or grass. This all came to a head that night that, asleep on the couch, I bolted awake when the dogs growled. The dogs never growled. They were too scared to chase a frog, innocent little puppies. The growling set me on edge and I woke up alarmed, and there was a dark man shape trying to get through the front door. The dogs ran from the kitchen and tried to attack it. I'm a brave guy. I've run into burning buildings, jumped into a snake-infested creek to grab a kid who couldn't swim, but this I screamed. The whole house came running. At first, they didn't believe me. The figure disappeared. They thought the dogs were play fighting and just happened to hit the door, but the door was locked. Every night, and I pointed that out. Suddenly, we knew we had a situation. We were all pagans to an extent, so we tried everything: sage, salt, rituals, sigils, and still strange happenings. The kids' sleepwalking was getting worse. I remember the dreams now. I don't want to go with them. They want me to go, but I don't want to. We thought it was a joke at first and told him, well, hell, kid, don't go. Tell them to go away. And then excitedly, a while later, he said, I told them to go, but to leave me alone, and I kicked their butts and they left. Robbie, who the fuck are you talking about? The other kids. Right after he kicked their butts, the stuff started happening with the doors. Flashback forward, we know we have a haunting and none of the usual stuff is working. I decide to go all in. I'm going to trance out, Edgar Cayce style, and see if I can maybe contact the other side. It worked. There was a lady there. She had a message for me. I know you think this kind of stuff is a joke, but you need to know that it isn't. Robbie is in danger. He was raped as a toddler by his grandfather, and now his grandfather's spirit has come back to destroy his soul. He will turn the boy into a monster. You're all in danger if he succeeds. I woke up, people were watching me. I didn't want to sound weird, so I asked, Kat, was Robbie molested as a child? Dad, who was really stepdad, looked at her confused. Well, people used to tell me that my mom would abuse him, but I thought they were talking shit. I caught her with her hand down his diaper one day, though, and flipped out, but I never told anyone. Stepdad looks at Kat. Is that why your mom isn't allowed to babysit him? Kat grimaced. Yes.
The mom is still in the life?
She's still alive, yeah.
She's still in their life, though?
No. That's why. Ooh, yeah, that's true.
It just says not allowed to babysit. It doesn't say, is that why you cut her off? Okay, continue.
Anyway. But it still didn't make sense because my vision said grandfather specifically, unless. Kat, did your mom ever claim that her own father molested her? Her eyes almost popped out of her head when I asked. Yes, but did he ever babysit Robbie before he died? I knew her grandfather was dead. Her mother and her son were her only living relatives. No, he died before he was born. Still not making sense. But one more question. Did your mom ever claim... Still not making sense. One more question. Did your mom ever claim that her father raped her? Kat was practically crying. These were family secrets, buried for years, coming from the mouth of someone who certainly never had them told. Yes, but what does this have to do with the haunting? The spirit in my dream last night told me that Robbie was molested as a baby by his grandfather, and that his grandfather's spirit was trying to corrupt Robbie's soul and turn him into a monster. If we go off of that victimized children repeat the cycle by victimizing other children as adults, then in any sense, since your grandfather possibly molested your mom, and she likely did the same to him, then in a sense, since he started the cycle, he was the one who technically molested your son. His sin passed on to him. She was freaking out, full-blown panic attack, and stepdad's wasn't far behind. They both stood up alarmed. So what do? We have to banish the old man's spirit and protect your sons, end the cycle, which we did with a series of specific pagan rituals. But that's my theory. The black-eyed kids were abused in real life, and then their souls were taken captive by the spirits of their tormentors, to pass on torment to others, to feed off of happiness and replace it with pain and misery. If the Scandinavian tales are anything to go off of in my own experience, I'm not going to say invite them in, but perhaps a banishing ritual and warning charm could go a long way to preventing further harm. In mundane terms, I think those kids are already eternal slaves, but we should try to prevent harm in our own communities, watching out for abused kids, keeping harmful folks away from kids, taking certain nightmares and experiences seriously, and preventing what comes next. I think of all the mysteriously vanished people and kids who never turn up again, and I wonder. So that's it.
Wow. That had a lot of different sexual assault.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Witches, ghosts, generational trauma, family secrets, psychic mediums. That was a lot. Okay.
No, that's why I cut it, because I was like, this is going far off the black-eyed kids thing, but that's why, like, they believe that black-eyed kids are, like, the souls of kids who were traumatized in real life. Like, yeah. Thoughts?
So you know how people feel negatively when... Was that you? Anyway, and feel negatively around the black-eyed kids, what if they're feeling, because I know some ghosts can make you feel what they feel. So what if they're feeling the fear and trauma that the kids are feeling?
Oh, like they're projecting onto the human.
Mm-hmm.
That might be it. Because every like encounter, they're like people say like when they even when they don't know, like if you see a random like okay, realistically, you see a child.
Mm-hmm. Fear.
Okay, when you don't normal people don't feel fear, they're just like it's a fucking kid.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you open your door and you see a kid and you instantly feel fear,
Mm-hmm.
that's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like in all honesty, like I make fun of kids a lot because I don't want any. And I don't like them. But if I opened my door, like in my apartment, and I saw like an actual child, not a black-eyed kid, I'd probably be concerned
Well,
for
I
it.
would be concerned too because
For it though, like I'd be like, "Where the fuck is your mom?"
oh.
Like I'd want to help it. But if I open the door and I see a child and I instantly feel fear, that kid's getting punched.
Oh my god. Let's not commit assault.
If
Okay.
it's a black-eyed kid, does it count as assault?
What if it's like one of those kids that are I just saw something move.
Ryan, where? What do you mean?
Past the doorway. Anyway.
Like in the bathroom?
No, this door. Like past the door frame. Anyway,
Oh, I'm
okay.
gonna cry.
So black-eyed kids. Ghosts of abused children, demons. That's my thing. Aliens, and some prank of a secret elite society that's hiring children to scare poor people.
Yeah, and then
Or it's just a bunch of classist people who see a kid in old clothing and they're like, ah!
that could be it too.
Yeah.
And then the government one, where
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
government who's like they
MK
experiment
Ultra
on
number
it.
2.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it. That's all I had for you.
That's Black-Eyed Kids. All right, guys. Those of you who are listening on Spotify, there will be a poll down below. I will list all of the different explanations, and you let us know which one you think it is. Those of you that said on the last podcast that it's our imagination for shadow people, no, it's not. Don't gaslight us.
You made me angry.
It was like 22% of the listeners that selected
I
that.
saw that and I was like, why the fuck are you listening? Did you not hear what I said in the podcast? That if you say that, you're bullshit? Why'd you even make that an option?
Because it's there up to them to decide if they believe it or not.
All right, fine, but
It's okay. You can have a different opinion.
I have an opinion. I have a strong opinion.
All right, guys. So don't forget, you can go to somethingsintheclosetpod.com, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a donate button. If you don't want to just donate, you want to get something for your money, we also have merch. Just click the merch tab. We have t-shirts, tank tops, stickers, hoodies, tote bags. Aleja designed all of them. They're beautiful. They're really cute. We're waiting for our hoodies to come in. And if you don't want to do any of that, if you don't have any money to give, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and follow us on TikTok at Something's in the Closet Pod, on Instagram at Something's in the Closet, on Twitter at S.I.T.C Pod, or just watch us on YouTube. Just spread the love. Tell one friend about Something's in the Closet Pod and let us know so we can shout you out on the podcast. All right, guys, that was episode 2 of Something's in the Closet. Again, if you want to go to somethingsintheclosetpod.com, on the top right hand corner there is a donate button. We'd really appreciate it. If you want to get something for your money, there is a merch button, or just go ahead and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next Monday.